can't knock the hustle. And if you gotta get in place, then we gon' put your business on display. Grab a seat with Neesha for a minute. And if you got the goods, we can talk about your business. She know what it's like to make a move independently, and I don't fake us like that. We've been trusting God like that. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, we gon' put your business on display.
So, hey, everybody, we are late today, but you are here with Neesha's Network with We Work Wednesday, as we are here every Wednesday sharing fantabulous businesses and people that we think you should know. And as always, for the last couple weeks, I've been announcing that we are in the month of March, where we are celebrating women. It's Women History Month, and I am here. I've been calling it Women Her Story because we have amazing women who have been sharing their story with us on Neesha's Network on We Work Wednesday. And before I dive into my very special guest today, I just want to remind you that if you would like to get in touch with Neesha's Network, please inbox me, please share. And it's going to be a great invitation for building relationships and connecting people with who we think you should know, and also connecting people to you as well. Okay, so let me just say again, I'm always excited about just interviewing people and connecting people and sharing the good news. It's like, it's not just the good news of the gospel, it's the good news of people that I think are very special. And when I talk about God connections, it's just amazing how you have to be open, you guys. You have to be open to new. You have to be open to new people, new opportunities, and new relationships. And I believe 2021 brought about the behold, I will do a new thing in you. And so today, my very special guest is my newfound friend, none other than Mrs. Puzzle to Purpose herself, Mrs. Tasha Hart. Welcome, Tasha.
Hey.
I know I'm starting to sound redundant, but I met Tasha on Clubhouse, the Clubhouse app. And it has truly been a God connection. She has such a gift of encouragement and actually taking your puzzle brain, you guys, and fulfilling and helping you to pull out and fulfill purpose. Okay, it is the truth. And we're going to dive into talking about that. But right now, I want her to introduce herself to you guys, our listeners and our audience. Go ahead, Tasha, introduce us. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you, first off, Neesha, for having me on your show. I am loving the God connection that we have. It has truly been a blessing to me. Like you said, I am the puzzle lady. I am the founder of Puzzle to Purpose, how to go from being puzzled about your goals, about your purpose, to having insane, intentional, confident steps to purpose. And I spend all my time pretty much speaking about it, teaching about it, writing about it, and when I get the chance, celebrating the wins.
Oh, that's so good. So where do you currently live?
I live in Jackson, Tennessee, which is about 45 minutes outside of Memphis.
Okay.
I used to live in Nashville, but I'm closer to Memphis now.
Okay. So tell me, you have family? Have you always been in Memphis, or Tennessee? Tell us a little bit about your background.
No, my background is my mother actually married into the military, and because of that, I've actually lived in Maryland, Ohio. So I've got friends and family everywhere, but I'm originally from Indiana. My mom's in Indianapolis, and I've got family from Chicago all the way on the outskirts of Indiana and up and through there. You name a place, I've got family there.
Okay. So you know what? Tasha wears many hats. And I want you to give us a little bit of history about what you do in terms of your career. And this is her career. You know, just because you have a career doesn't always mean that that's your purpose, right? So you could work many, many years, but it doesn't mean, I should say this, that's not the end of your purpose. Clearly, everything has a purpose, but that may not be your purpose passion, right? So before you tell us about the purpose passion part, Tasha, tell us a little bit about your 9 to 5 that, God is opening doors for you and otherwise, and I won't say more, but tell us a little bit about that first.
Well, my 9 to 5, I am what some would call a hybridpreneur, meaning I have a business on the side, but I do have a day job that allows me to learn a lot of business concepts and ideas. What I do is pretty much administrative work
Okay.
for a very large company. I do that during the day. And then on the side, I work my business. And I've done that for the past 10 years. I've been doing
Wow.
that for 10 years. And what I tell people is, because I am a jack of all trades, but I am a master of some, not all. I don't like the saying, jack of all trades, master of none. That's not me. I
No.
am a master of some, the ones that line up with my purpose. So a lot of times those pop up even in my day jobs. And I have had lots, lots of day jobs, but they all support my business and they support who I am as a person. And your why and your purpose will usually show up in whatever you do.
Wow, your why and your purpose will show up in whatever you do. That's really, really good. We're going to talk about that a little bit more shortly. But so let me just tell you all, I don't know where she had time to, and I've never heard the word hybrid entrepreneur. I've heard the word serial entrepreneur just most recently. Most people just call it, you're just super, super busy. And I kind of get offended at that word sometimes, but I love the fact that you say you're a hybrid entrepreneur. But let me tell you all about this lady. She has 5 books. She's an author. And so I want you to talk about your books, because I know that sometimes what's inside of you, if you had the time to write it down, it definitely will turn into a business. That's for sure. Being an author alone. So tell us about your 5 books, girl, and show to us. And you guys be on the lookout for an opportunity to ask questions, because this is a great time to talk to the puzzle lady that will help your puzzles link together. Okay.
Please do. I love questions and I just appreciate this. So you are absolutely correct. I am the author of 5 books. I did not know at the time I was going to write more than one, but the first book was titled appropriately Puzzled to Purpose. And the tagline is excellence is never achieved by accident. And that is so true. When you're pursuing your purpose, you're not going to achieve it by accident. It requires you to go after it with excellence. And that's what book number 1 was all about, and where Puzzle to Purpose came from. And it started with a conversation between my husband and his friend. They were having a conversation, and I could tell just by the way the answers were coming back and forth that what was being said is not what was being heard. And God just spoke to me in that moment and was like, there's a story there. There's a story there. What was being said is not what was being heard. And it took me down this whole journey of studying purpose from a puzzle perspective, and what those disconnects are, and how can we get the pieces connected so that communication is clear. So that's just a little touch, a little hint on book number 1. And then
hold on, because we want to stay there for a moment, girl. That's good. Because I'm gonna tell you something that Tasha has helped me out with, and mind you, this does not discount all of my family and friends who are branding strategists and coaches and mentors. But you know how your family and friends will say the same thing all the time, and then you meet someone new, and they say it the same thing that's been said, and then a light bulb comes out because it's explained in a different way. Sometimes that happens, you guys, and sometimes you need a fresh perspective. And so what I wanted to say was, one of the times that me and Tasha were in the same room together, she was going over my bio, and she just was very clear about how my message as a life coach, family coach, and a networker were not connecting, and they needed to have some form of my message being a lot more clear. So this is where I want to pause and say, if you are puzzled about your message, if you are puzzled and just walking in a little bit of confusion and need some clarity about your purpose, Tasha Hart is a person you need to connect with, and we'll tell you how to get in touch with her. but at the same time, she is phenomenal. And she didn't ask, she does have a business, is a business. But I want to say that her heart of giving to see people walk in their purpose and get unconfused. Y'all see the little boxes around us, how there are many different levels and many steps. The truth is that was on purpose, because really some of us do get confused and get stuck. And Tasha is that person to help you to get unstuck. So that's Puzzle to Purpose. I hope I explained that very well, because I was using my own transparency, Tasha, to help out that.
But you touched on something I wanted to just highlight really, really quick before we move on to the next thing. And it's a perfect time. I bring puzzle pieces with me to any interview. So I'm such a visual. But when you mentioned the part about sometimes something is said, but somebody else might say the exact same thing, but it resonates with you.
Yeah.
And I tell people in the puzzle world, when we're talking in puzzle analogies, there's a specific reason for that. It's not because that person and what they said wasn't valuable or needed. It's because sometimes there's a specific connection for a specific time for you to receive it. So if you look at a puzzle piece,
slow down. There's a specific time.
Yes.
For a specific connection that is needed.
That is needed. Yes.
Everything doesn't happen all at the same time. There's a specific, He has made all things beautiful in his time. And a lot of times we miss that. I just want to pause there, because a lot of times we miss that. We get disappointment because things don't happen in the timing that we thought it should happen. So repeat that one more time.
There's a specific time and a specific reason for things to happen at that time. And I'm not sure I said that the exact same way, but basically what it comes down to is, if you look at yourself as a puzzle piece, there's a part of you that is cut away, and that's like this section here. And then there's a part of you that sticks out. And the part of you that sticks out is usually the part of you that's designed to pour into other people. And the parts of you that are cut away, it's meant for somebody specific to strategically connect to you and give you what you're missing. Other people can come along, say the exact same thing, even in the same manner, but because they weren't cut out to connect for you, it won't make sense. It won't connect. That doesn't make them wrong. It just means that they weren't the right fit for you, for what you were needing in that moment. That is what I wanted to highlight. So I like for people to know that all pieces matter. All the pieces will connect eventually, but don't be upset if you get turned around and it didn't connect the first time.
And it's never too late, right?
Right.
As long as you're living, it's never too late.
Yeah.
Okay, so come on with book number 2.
All right. Book number 2 is actually part of a series called Secrets of the 12. This is book number 2 that I published. And Secrets of the 12 was a way for me to talk about fear in a way that wasn't scary, that wasn't taboo. Okay. It's the one topic that people are so uncomfortable talking about. No one likes sharing their fears. We all have to be strong. We all have to be that person that can go through any struggle and come out unscathed. And I wrote about fear in such a way that people could read the story in a fictional sense, but the truth of it and the biblical truths behind it could come out, and you could point to the story and the characters and say, yeah, that's not me, but I can kind of see how that would happen to someone like that. But wow. What was happening and what has happened is people have started talking about the fears that hide behind our secrets. And I tell people that's where fear hides. It hides behind the secrets you don't want to tell.
That's a whole lot right there. I could digest. We don't have time. We're gonna have to have another conversation about that book. I can speak volumes about that book just listening to the definition.
That's why there's volumes.
Okay. Come on. I didn't even know
why there's volumes. The Secrets of the 12 series, what it is, it follows 12 college students that find out they are descendants of the 12 apostles and they didn't know it. and they don't look like how you would think. They don't act the way that you would think, but the story is so good. And I'm not just saying that. The story is so good because it takes fear and it shows you how fear operates in a military sense. So those of you with military backgrounds, or even if you don't have a military background, but you're familiar with ranking and how things like panic and anxiety and nightmares and all those things that fear kind of promotes is actually operating under his leadership in ranks. Okay. And they have assignments, and these 12, because of the secrets and the generational curses in their families, have provided a place for those fears to hide and operate in their lives. And when you see how faith overcomes fear, the power in these stories, even though they're fictional, there's a lot of truth in them. And I get the most response on this series.
Wow. So where are you in the series part? You're on book number 4? 3?
Book number 3 just came out this year, volume 3. Okay. The volume was supposed to be potentially the final volume, but so far everyone that has read it said, "Oh no. They're pushing me to do another volume because they want to know what happens next." And I guess that's just the power of the story.
So when do you have time to write? I want to hear about this.
Oh boy. I think for me, it's like a movie in my head. So when I start to write, I'm really just writing the scene. So I write quicker than most. I have colleagues and friends that write also, and some of them, it takes them a long time. But I follow something that is kind of biblical. It's not kind of, it is biblical. You know, it says God goes to the end of a thing, finishes it, and then he goes to the beginning of it and just walks it out. And with all the stories that I've written, that's exactly what I've done. I pray about it and I ask God, what is the ending to this?
That's so good. Now, that's what's interesting about that, Tasha, is that this is probably, I shouldn't tell on myself, but I always go, any book I pick up, and it's not often, I'm more of a listener and a video person than I am a reader, unless it really grabs me. But on all the books, and that's rude for me to say, especially since I'm an author and I'm trying to complete a book that has been in my heart since 2015. But I go to the end of the books and I read the end of the chapter and then I start back from the beginning. I know that is so backwards, but you know, it's just always been the way that I've been, even in a grade school. I would read the end and then I would come back to the beginning. What do you call those kind of puzzled people, girl?
Well, that's a whole nother conversation because we'd have to dig into some peace questions, some discover your peace questions. But I can relate to that because, again, our Father does that. He goes to the end of a thing and he finishes it. So that's where my beginning actually is. I actually write the last chapters, or at least the summary of what the ending is going to be first. Then I go back to the beginning and I just ask, okay, God, how do we get there? How do we get to that end? So it just, he starts unraveling it for me.
That's really good. That's really good. Well, let's talk about the passion behind you starting the business. And the name of the business is Puzzle to Purpose, right?
Yes.
And you all can go to her website, which is puzzletopurpose.com.
Yes, with the number 2.
With the number 2, puzzletopurpose.com. And so what was your passion behind launching this business?
The passion is simply the desire to leave a legacy, to leave something more than the generation before and the generation before, not in spite of, but in honor of my grandmother, who was an evangelist, my great-great-grandmother, who was an evangelist, who passed that down to my grandpa, and who passed that down to me. I mean, it's just honoring those people that came before, that did whatever they could with what they had. And so for me, it's doing what I can with what I have. I want to use it all up. I do not want to go to heaven and there was one more book in me, there was one more whatever, one more painting, one more speech. I want to use it all up And that is what drives me. And that is what pushed me to start the business, because it's a vehicle. It's simply a vehicle to make that legacy happen. That's what it's about for me.
So speaking of legacy, I know you have children. How do they view all you do in terms of, the as the author, as a business owner and the entrepreneur? How are they like intrigued, like, Mom, I'm following in your footsteps? Or what would you have to say their feedback is? It's always important to hear what the legacy has to say.
Yes. And that has been, I was just thanking God for this 2 days ago. I was like, it's just amazing because it's showing up in them in ways that I couldn't even imagine. I have a 16-year-old going on 17, and my oldest is 23. My oldest has his own small groups. Nothing I had to do with that. He hosts his own small groups in his apartment. He doesn't miss it. He's faithful. And I don't have any with me right now, but I have these little wax puzzle shaped melts that you put in your wax warmer. And my oldest son, he takes those puzzle melts and he puts them out on the nights that he's going to have his small group. So his place will smell nice. It doesn't smell like a guy. So when his Bible study group comes over, they just rave. And he's like, oh, that's my mom. You got to go to her website. You got to check out her books. And then he's like, and you got to buy her stuff. So he's not only ministering and doing it in his way. He took actually my Puzzle to Purpose book and went to his college campus. This was a couple of years ago. Went to his college campus and used my business platform as a project for his class.
Wow.
Didn't know anything about it.
Wow.
He related it to something, but they are taking this and putting their own spin on it. But they're doing it through videos on YouTube and tech, and I'm like, okay, I'm still with the hot glue gun, so I'm just gonna stay in my lane and let them do what they do. But it's exciting to see.
That is wonderful. That is wonderful. So you know what? I want you to talk about what's been the most rewarding since you've been started this business. People are asking what's your website. I'm going to put it in the chat.
Oh, okay.
But tell us what's been the most rewarding after starting the business.
The most rewarding for me is the connection. It's when someone gets it, when they realize that their piece matters. And that's just something I say all the time. I was saying that way before any of the Matters sayings. I was saying your piece matters with my little puzzle t-shirts. And when somebody really understands that you see them for them, that has been the most rewarding. Not being put in the box, so to speak, not being compared to other programs or businesses or even organizations similar. This is what God has given me, but all it does is allow me to see the unseen. It allows me to see people that normally are not seen, that get overlooked, that don't get heard. Their voices, when we connect and we start talking about their piece and how much it matters and how they're shaped and how that positions them and their potential, and the lights come on, that is the most rewarding thing for me, because I know how that feels.
Wow.
I know how that feels. And I can do that all day, every day, if somebody gets it. And the more they get it, the more excited I am.
That's so good. I had a visualization of a t-shirt. I don't even know if you have it out yet, but it's what is your piece to the puzzle? And what I'm looking at the word PEACE, because once you get the piece to the puzzle, it will give you a lot more peace rather than being frustrated. So you go ahead. Do you have that on a t-shirt? Go ahead, girl, take that.
I do not. No.
Piece to make it their piece. I think that's amazing. And because so many people do struggle, Tasha, and especially people that have been in business 10 years or been doing the same thing, and they haven't seen any exponential growth or, and they feel like I've made tons of, and that's kind of me. I don't feel like I haven't been doing Neesha's Network, for 10 years. I've been doing it without doing it, right? Officially. Right. But what I want to say is that, seeing the growth, but people want to see growth with money. They don't just want to see growth with, oh, I have a
Absolutely.
lot of people. I want to have, I want to, and I guess in some instances, touching lives. And that's kind of always been my thing, is that as long as I'm touching lives, as long as everybody else is supported,
Right.
it doesn't really matter about what I gain from it. But I'm starting to think, the older I get, that's not always the truth, So what do you have to say to people that have been doing the same thing for so many years and they're ready to see some growth beyond just, the connections?
Oh my gosh, you're making the hairs on the back of my neck tingle, because I was just talking to my coach who helps me with my strategies and things and putting my programs together. And we are working on a program right now called Accelerate. But we'll talk about that. My opinion on what you just said, and just simply this: most of the time, the reason people are not accelerating in their goals or their purpose is one of two things. Either they know exactly what it is that they're good at, they know what their purpose is, but they're pursuing it in the wrong order or the wrong steps. And I can explain that. But the other side is, people know that they are an asset somehow. They know they're good at something, but they can't quite put their finger on it. They just have all these things they're good at, and they just don't know how that connects. And what am I supposed to do with it? It's usually one of those two things. I have a purpose, but I don't quite know what it is, or I have it nailed down to where I can do something with it.
Mm-hmm.
Or I know what my purpose is, but I've been pursuing it maybe not in the best way, so I'm not getting the best results. And both of those things are going to stunt your growth, slow you down, or cause you not to accelerate.
So in that, you recommend calling and investing in Tasha Hart.
Absolutely. But I can tell you this one little tip. It all comes down to, especially if you're Christians, we do not serve a God of disorder.
That's right.
So a lot of times, if you're not seeing acceleration, it's not your fault. It is not anything that is something you should be beating yourself up about. A lot of times we're doing the best we know to do. Okay. So what I tell people is simply just filling in the gaps of what you don't know. And that usually comes down to something's out of order. And that's not a bad thing. I mean, you can't put something in order if you don't know what the order is. Right. And that's where the puzzle pieces come in. And if you've ever put a puzzle together and you don't start with the framework, I tell people this all the time, and say you start with those centerpieces, you're already out of order, because it's the border that protects the vision. It's the border, that framework, that's going to protect whatever that goal, whatever the idea is. So if you look at those in terms of people instead of puzzle pieces, who is your framework? And if you don't have them in place first, you're already out of order, and you're probably not going to see the growth that you want.
Wow.
But, yeah. But we get excited. We get excited. People come along and they really champion you on. They know that you're good at something and they want to help, or they tell you their best advice. But if they are centerpieces play a certain role. And if you put them in the wrong position, you put them in the position of an edge piece or a framework piece, and get them out of order, not only are you destroying your ability to accelerate that goal, you're also messing with their identity and their potential, because they're out of order. So it's so many things that you can do to quickly turn that around just by getting positioned in the right order. So I love talking about that. And when people start getting it, they're like, they make a couple of switches and then they start seeing acceleration, whether that's in their production for a business or relationship goals. And that lovey-dovey starts happening because all of a sudden you got the pieces in place and there's support around that thing, and it can make some stuff happen.
That is so good. I'm thinking about that, because that doesn't just have to do with business, but that has to do with your personal journey, your relationships. Yes. All of those things can flow together. So who is your framework, you guys? This is so good. Who is your framework? This won't be the last time we have this talk, you guys, because the truth is that there's so much richness in what Tasha is saying. And you guys can go to puzzletopurpose.com, purchase her books, get the information about what workshops and coaching and services that she has to provide. But one of the things that you said to me was perspective changes your priorities and enhances your potential. Perspective changes your priorities and enhances your potential. Now, that's just, I want you to dive into that just a little bit, because everybody's perspective is different. And I'm going to say that because of the fact that so if there's somebody that comes along like Tasha came along, is like, Neesha, I see, people are excited about what you do. Neesha's doing this, Neesha's doing that. This is so great, this, and the other. But everybody's perspective is totally different about what I do. But at the same time, I'm grabbing a little bit from you, a little bit from that person, a little bit from that. And what I realize is that they may be centerpieces and not the porter, not the framework. That just became so clear to me. It doesn't mean that they don't play a part. It's just that you can get real confused and your perspectives about your mission will change if you're letting people, you're listening to everybody and everybody's not a part of the framework. So really, let's talk about how you really ask God about, the priorities. Like, how do you know what priorities will help enhance your potential? How do people get organized with that? That's when everybody's trying to coach you there. Everybody's excited about what you're doing.
Well, what I tell people too is you got to be careful, because a lot of these, and they're all good, don't get me wrong, everything has its place, everything has its niche, it's good stuff. But sometimes God will come along and say, okay, that was good, but now I'm doing something different. Doesn't mean that this is better and that was bad. It just means it's different.
Okay.
And what's different now is that we've got to go back to helping people where they are, not just shoving programs and checklists in front of people and saying, this is your answer and this works for everyone. It doesn't work for everyone, because like we were discussing, the perspective is different. And that's part of what I talk about when we're discussing the puzzle analogies. If you look at a puzzle piece, depending on where that piece is positioned, changes the perspective. So you can be part of the same program, the same church, the same business, but if you're over here in that corner of the vision, your perspective of what's going on is going to be different. If you're part of the framework, your perspective is going to be different. And what we can't do is expect a centerpiece to look at the same picture the same way an edge piece or a corner piece does. It's not going to happen. So when you understand that, okay, I have to look at it based on position and that perspective and know who I'm talking to. You don't talk to a centerpiece the same way you do an edge piece. Their perspective is different. Nor do I try and change it. That's the other issue. We can't all be edge pieces or the picture wouldn't ever come together. So it's a little bit of respect for that perspective that allows the acceleration to happen and the direction to come. Because the flip side of that, and I'm sure you've experienced it in Neesha's network, when you're working with people, and you can answer this and let me know if I'm off or if this is correct.
Okay.
But you can find that when you're working with people, the more they tell you about what they do gives you clues on who they need to connect with specifically.
Right.
It's the same
all
thing.
The time. Yes.
It's the same thing. Yeah. And until you start asking those questions and getting people in the right position, you're not going to know what that next piece is, who you need to connect with, what pieces are missing. It's all about position. And if you're out of position, not only does that slow you down, but somebody was counting on you for directions. By you being in place, now I come along and I'm like, oh, that's that piece I need to connect with. But if you're over here connecting with someone else that you're not even meant to be or wasn't cut out to be connecting with, now you're slowing me up because I'm waiting on you. I'm waiting on you to get in place and get in position. So now my whole perspective is all messed up. Our communication's messed up and we're out of order.
And then I was thinking this too. Stop paying attention to somebody else's piece and poking at their piece because when you're doing that, you're not where you're supposed to be doing, serving the purpose you're supposed to serve. Woo-wee. Okay, listen, churches, pastors, business owners, leaders, CEOs of companies, directors. Who do you need to call? Tasha Hart. So you can get that puzzle to purpose in order for your business, for your company, for your church, for your ministry. I mean, so much clarity. Sometimes people just need a redirection of what they need of a thought process. And I know that I'm a life coach and marriage coach and some business consulting I do. But I mean, sometimes it just takes another person to come along, another piece to the puzzle that will fit in its place to allow the puzzle to be a beautiful portrait, to allow your story to, you can see the full picture, because everybody can't show you the picture. So I am so excited about having talked to you today, Tasha. We could go on and on. So I'm definitely going to have Tasha Hart back, you guys. But Tasha, I would like for you to share where people can get in touch with you, where they can find you, and even talk about your clubhouse rooms and the different things that you're offering and your new book, everything. Come on, tell everybody, girl. Everybody needs to come.
Awesome. Well, again, I thank you for just allowing me to share. Right now, I am all my handles, social media handles are the same. It's at puzzled, the number 2 purpose, puzzled 2 purpose. And that's .com, that's at Facebook, that's at IG. You can find my Puzzled to Purpose handle on Clubhouse where we met. I'm loving Clubhouse. And I do have a club called Puzzled to Purpose. And we host topics around purpose and growth and goals, team building, all those great topics on Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. Central. And that is for now until some other things happen. But the newest book that I have coming out, other than these, the newest book is called Welcome Home, the Clubhouse app. And it's 7 hacks to have an easier, quicker, less stressful move in. So what you would want to know about moving into a physical home, I walk you through those hacks on how you move into a virtual space, including specifically Clubhouse, but it works on any social media platform. Just something simple as when you buy a new home and you need to change the locks on your home. How do you do that virtually? Well, we talk about, okay, here's how you change the locks on your Clubhouse virtual space so that you're safe and you're operating in order, because I got to throw that in there.
Yeah.
My favorite part about the book is meet your neighbors and how important it is to build community no matter what platform you're on. And I do mention Neesha's network in the book.
Yay!
And all my virtual neighbors that I've met, that's what I call that chapter. It's like, meet my virtual neighbors. Welcome to the neighborhood. And we just talk about who's working at the gas station, who owns the grocery store, stop by that yoga studio and go check out Neesha and her network and all the fun people that have just made Clubhouse what it is for me. And then I invite you to build your own community and let's get connected that way. But you can find the book when it comes out. We'll have more information on that on my website at puzzled2purpose.com. And then, of course, I'll be blasting it all over social media and we'll talk about more of that.
That is so good. Well, I'm very grateful for our time together. It was brief, but it went by fast. 30 minutes went by really fast. But what I wanted to know was, out of all the things that you have accomplished, what are you most proud of? What can you share with us that makes you smile?
Well, there's several, but the one I'm going to share right now, because it is my passion project as of right now, and it is the 5th book. So I'll just end with that. And it is my first children's book.
Oh,
and yes, it's called Eddie and the Rain Barrel. And the story behind it is I was in church service And my pastor was born on the mission field in Liberia, Africa. And he was teaching on imagination and the power of your imagination and how powerful God's imagination was. And he said when he was a kid in Africa, he used to imagine that alligators were in the rain barrels that collected the rainwater in their village. And I was sitting in service and I was like, that's a book. And I was like, alligators, Africa, rain barrels. And we have a charitable giving project every year, and I never have the money to donate to that project. And then the whole scripture, you know, gold and silver, I have none, but what I do have. And I don't have the money, but what I do have is this ability to write stories. So I wrote the book. One of the little middle schoolers from my church did the illustrations. So that poured into her. She's a little author now. She's gone on to do other things. She's publishing her a book coming out.
Wow.
But the whole point is all the proceeds from this book go to missions in Kenya. And we have a goal to sell 300 of these this year. Hopefully that is the goal. That is my passion project. So that the amount that I would have loved from my heart to give, I can do it collectively and give to that missions project as a whole. And then other people get to give too. So
yes. So tell us, can they get that on Amazon as well?
Yes. All the books are available on Amazon, but yes, this book is available and the money literally goes to that missions project. And they update me. The books can be sold and bought and donated. We had a group that bought some right at Christmas time and sent it to St. Jude's Hospital.
Okay.
And I got a letter back. They said the kids loved it. And then Riley's Children's Hospital in Indianapolis, there was a box that was shipped to them that was purchased and then donated. And that was by a group of people that wanted to support the kids at that hospital. Because I'm from Indiana originally. So anyway, if you don't have small children in your life, that's fine. Even if you don't like to read, I read the story on my podcast. And I got a video of a baby that her mother was playing me reading the story. And she was sitting there in front of the laptop listening to Eddie and the Rain Barrel. So there you go.
So you have a podcast. We didn't hear about that. So you can find you on all social media platforms, you know, puzzletopurpose.com for the website, Clubhouse, but also a podcast. Tell us when your podcast is.
Oh, yes. The podcast, you can access all the videos and episodes on my website. So I always forget to mention.
Okay.
But it is How to Find Your Life Purpose with Tasha Hart. Okay. And that's on Spotify, Apple. If you type that in, it'll pop up. Now, I have to warn people, if you go to Amazon to get the books, there is another Tasha Hart.
Okay.
And she's an author, but we don't write about the same subject. So just making that clear. Okay. I am not that Tasha Hart. I'm the other Tasha Hart.
Well, we need to put Tasha Hart too, since it's Puzzle Purpose. You probably need to put another 2 or behind your name or something. But you guys, it has been such a joy to meet with Tasha Hart today, my new friend that God connected me with, and I'm excited about it. So go to puzzletopurpose.com. You guys, you can DM her on Instagram. You can go to her website, do an inquiry for a consultation and schedule your consultation with her to get unpuzzled and unstuck and to make sure that you are fulfilling for your full maximum potential and purpose that God has given you. Tasha, I appreciate you today. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to us meeting again on Neesha's network.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. And I do have the Discover Your Piece free quiz. So if they DM me or email me, whatever, I will send them that quiz for free so they can find out what piece they are.
I think I took mine. Did I take it?
I think we did, because you, I believe, said that you are a corner piece, but I'm not sure. I think you said
I am a corner piece, but you know, discover your piece, you guys. I know you guys enjoyed this amazing interview with Tasha Hart. So look her up, you guys. puzzletopurpose.com. It's been a joy, and I'm just excited. I'm thrilled. I'm ready for my Calendly meeting. I'm setting up my consultation, you guys. All right. Well, until next Wednesday, we want to say have a blessed Wednesday. As you see, we're in a different area and a different atmosphere, but that's okay. It's been great. So you guys look us up. If you want to connect with me, go to Neesha's Network on Facebook Live, and we are rebranding. We're redoing some things, you guys, and we're making some moves. So be on the lookout for what Neesha's Network has coming soon. See you next Wednesday. Have a blessed week, everybody. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. We appreciate each and every one of you all.
Yeah, 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 yeah.